It is red. They see the bar and raise it, plus they rep for the ladies, trust it's red. See my voice is in football, red. If you want to talk up, it's a red channel for me and you. Subscribe and tune into the ladies in red.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Ladies in Red. We're back with another Ladies in Red special. I'm joined by the lovely Mais this evening. Mais, thank you so much for joining me again. As always, an absolute pleasure to get you on. I hope you're doing well this evening.
I'm very well, thanks, Soph. How are you? And thank you again for having me on.
It's always an absolute pleasure, and I'm doing really well, thank you. It's hump day. We're over halfway through the week now, counting down till Friday. So yeah, I'm doing good, thank you. And obviously, United, there's some positive news coming out of it after we've been so depressed. I remember having Alice on last week, and we were saying we hope something's going to happen soon, but we can't really see it. So then having this news yesterday, regarding obviously Malacia, Jong, and other rumours as well that we're going to touch on. But yeah, firstly, we'll start with the Malacia one because that one kind of came out of the blue. I was not expecting that. Obviously, it's a name that a lot of United fans felt that we should have been looking at. We believed he was going to Lyon for around 15 million. And then rumours are United have stepped in last minute and hijacked the deal, and we're offering around 17 million euros for Malacia. Now, look, he's still a very young player. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm an expert. I've seen a few YouTube compilations ever since I heard the news broke out. Not acting like I'm the expert. But it strikes me as a kind of attacking-minded fullback, a player who's on the front foot, very aggressive, and a player that definitely would improve our fullback options. I mean, firstly, Mais, did you expect that? And secondly, how are you feeling about that news?
Malacia was definitely one I wasn't expecting. I know Fabrizio did announce near the start of the transfer window before that we was looking at getting a fullback. So I was automatically assuming that we was going to be getting a right back because I felt like that was the side what was our weaker side. But then, of course, Ten Hag's rumours saying that he likes Dalot. So that made me think, okay, does this mean we're going to get a backup right back because of Wan-Bissaka? But then hearing about Malacia, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I'm the same as you. I don't know too much about him, but he is definitely more attacking minded, and as well, he is quite pacer, which is one good thing. So he's able to track back that quite quickly. People are comparing him a little bit in terms of Kyle Walker, in the respect of Kyle Walker's good at going forward. He isn't the best defensively, but because he tracks back so quickly, he's able to get onto them duels and what quicker than you would expect for someone who hasn't got the same amount of pace but is defensive minded. So I think it is a good move. I think we definitely did need a fullback either side, to be honest, but the left back wasn't too much of an urgent priority. I think though Ten Hag has seen something of him, because I was reading some reports today, and Ten Hag supposed to really like Malacia from when Feyenoord played against Ajax, and there was some kind of duel there with Anthony and Malacia, and that has been since when Ten Hag has been really impressed with him. So it'll be interesting to see on if he will get him properly as the left back. But from Luke Shaw's injury, we don't know how long he's going to be out for. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to go on there in terms of the left back situation if Telles stays as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Even to Curtis, so the Malacia deal isn't done yet in terms of being agreed, so he could just easily opt for Lyon. Yeah, it is a case of him obviously saying yes, and you are right, we always say it until they're holding the shirt up. We don't fully believe it. But the fact that we're even in the race, I wasn't expecting that at all. And I do think he'd be a very good signing. I do kind of agree with what Brush is saying here. At the moment, I still think Shaw is probably number one choice. Malacia gives us good strength in depth and a good rotation option. And I also agree with what Curler said there. Does this then spell the end for Telles if it is that Malacia comes in? Because you mentioned there, you thought right back would be more the priority. We are getting a left back if we do get Malacia. So do you think that spells the end for Telles at United if he does come in?
If you want me to be honest, probably yes, because we don't need 3 left backs. And then that also raises questions with Brandon Williams also, not just Alex Telles, to think, is Brandon Williams going to have another loan deal? Is he going to be sold? Or because he's a right-footed left back, is he going to move over to the right back?
It's a good point. And these are all the things that Ten Hag must be looking at as we're talking. But Ten Hag, obviously, he's had his first few training sessions now. We've seen clips of it on Twitter. United, obviously, Twitter are just spamming the hell out of the timeline with pictures and clips of Ten Hag. And obviously, it's hard for us as a fan to judge it on what we've seen in those little clips. But what are your first impressions with him? Obviously, he seems very in detail, very like to the point with what he's talking about with these players. It's like those fine details, isn't it, that he seems to really focus on, and I think that's what we've lacked really in a coach for a while. So, are you excited by him after seeing these first few sessions?
Sometimes with Ten Hag, because just because we've seen the pictures and we hadn't seen the training videos until this week, I was still pinching myself a little bit thinking, is Ten Hag really our manager? Until we seen him there at Carrington this week. I literally rewatched a video from yesterday loads of times where he said to the cameraman, "Hello, how are you?" I literally watched it about 20 times because it just shows his politeness towards the staff members at Manchester United, and people who work for Manchester United even said that Ten Hag was going around everywhere to say hi, like if people who's working in the kitchens, people who's working at the museum, blah blah blah. And I think that's something that you like to see in a manager. In terms of the training sessions as well, he does look extremely detailed in what he's doing. He was very clear and direct in the video from today. Like I was here, and then you could see it, and then you could hear him going, yes. So it seems the players seem that they are working hard at the moment. I know we haven't got the full squad yet. We've got a couple more of the younger players, so it'll be interesting to see which ones impressed the most also.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of competition for places, but that is healthy, as we know. From the time when Telles first came in and Luke Shaw proper pushed on, obviously his form really picked up, and I do think that does, the competition helps, doesn't it? So it's not a bad thing, but at the same time, I mean, we've got young players, you mentioned there, like Fernandez, players like that will fall further down the pecking order. But we know Ten Hag is a manager who likes to get the best out of his youngsters. GT's mentioned there, has Pellistri come back? I've forgotten about him. Pellistri is back. Pellistri is a good example. Pellistri, Ahmad, Jong, players like that. Do you think it may be another loan option for them? Or do you see them getting a bit more game time this season? Because obviously we haven't got Champions League. Europa League is a competition where maybe we can rotate a little bit. Like, where do you see them youngsters featuring this season?
You know what? I actually been learning a little bit more about these the players who we've had on loan. The majority of the people who have done it with have said that the players at the moment don't seem ready to be in this Manchester United squad at the moment. They need that a little bit more time. And I think if you aren't going to get the game time like you are at a different club, you need to loan them out. But you look at, for instance, like Jong, just as Brush has touched on, he has had quite a few different loan deals. And I think when a player has more than 3 loans, separate loans, I think it's only the fair thing to do than to let the player go, because it's not fair to keep it in the back of the mind. Oh, you could be in for us next year. You could be here next year. Just let the kid have his game time elsewhere where you know he's going to get that 100% game time. If he improves so much as a player, there's no reason why one day in the future a top Premier League club can go for him. Somewhere abroad whose top could go for him also. But for certain players, I think it is best to move them on. But some, I think, for instance, James Gardner needs a Premier League loan. Ahmad, I think that the Rangers loan wasn't the right fit for him. And I think he does need a Championship loan. And the same with Mengi, I think he also needs another loan.
Yeah, and I think it has to come to a point where we keep loaning these players out. And Curtis has actually just said it there. I think there has to be a point where we make a decision and think, you know what, are they good enough or are they not good enough? We can't keep clinging on and hope that they are going to come good. Like, I think you kind of know after a few seasons if they're good enough or not good enough for United. And I think that's what Ten Hag will be really good at, narrowing down that quality, knowing who is good enough to make it, who isn't. Like I say, he's very good at developing youngsters, and I'm sure he'll definitely give a lot of them chances. Already mentioned the likes of Hannibal, obviously. I know he's a big fan of McTominay, that a lot of United fans have been getting it's just like a bit angry at it on Twitter, questioning that. But you know what? If McTominay comes McDominated, we've called him at times, but if he brings that form under Ten Hag, like, yeah, I'm not knocking it. I'm trusting my manager. That's all I'm saying. I'm trusting my manager. Would he be my ideal choice? No. Well, who knows? He could turn him into a monster. McMonster, who knows? But we'll see what happens. De Jong, Eriksen, Tielemans, says Tom. I don't think we're getting Tielemans. I think if he goes anywhere, he's probably looking more at Arsenal, if I'm honest. I don't think we're going to get him. And big up to Jago Manchester, as well as Jamaica in the house. Big up to Cuties. Thank you for joining us from Jamaica. Big up Manchester, is it there? Jamaica in the house. Yeah, you knew what I was saying. Jamaica in the house. Thank you for joining us from Jamaica. I want to go to Jamaica so bad. And Mark says there, I fully agree. Soph. Tom says, Soph, do you prefer Pau Torres or over Martinez at centre back? I'd say I've probably seen more of Pau Torres. I've never really been that, I don't know, think he's a very good player, a decent player, but I kind of get Lindelof vibes from him. He's good on the ball and whatnot, but is he really? I don't know. Premier League, I think that's another question, isn't it? But it's just, obviously I don't know much about Martinez either. So my choice, if we were going to choose a player at centre back, I always like the look of Timber, and I know height was a big issue for a lot of fans. But Timber, I just felt because he could play right back as well, obviously those attributes. But it does seem that the centre back who will be leaving is Martinez. Apparently, Mais, we are going to be going into a kind of a bidding war with Arsenal for Martinez because Arsenal are really keen as well. I mean, have you seen much? I mean, what would your answer be to that question from Tom there?
If out of Paul Torres and Martinez, I will go for Martinez. I have watched a few games of Ajax this season, and I'll probably say I've watched like 10 games or something. And from what I have seen of Martinez, I have been extremely impressed. However, I do prefer Timber. I've liked Timber for a few years. I was even one who was like tweeting like, "Oh, Timber's finally got his debut for the Netherlands," and that was actually this time last year. He was getting his debut for the Netherlands actually in the friendlies before the Euros. So I would prefer Timber, just because he's more versatile in terms of he can play the right back, but we also know that Martinez can play in the defensive midfielder role. And Timber's height, it isn't too bad. He looks smaller than people think. He's 5'10", so I think a lot of people think on pictures he looks a lot more smaller than what he actually is. But I do like Martinez. With Paul Torres, I do agree with you. He's good on the ball, but he does give me slow type of defender vibes. And we've got enough of them. Why would we want another slow defender when we've only got 2 quick type of defenders, and a lot of our defenders are right-footed? We want a left-footed defender because we haven't got any of them, and we don't have many quick defenders either.
I think a big thing as well, it doesn't really matter who we get at centre-back. We need protection in front of them. I know we've mentioned getting Frankie de Jong, but he's not that CDM. He's not the out-and-out defensive midfielder that I think we require. I mean, Curtis, I've just seen it there, said that no top side plays without a good CDM, and I agree with him to an extent. I know the defence got a lot of stick last season, but a lot of the time as well, it was just an open run at them because the gaps in midfield were just too big. We just didn't have that disciplined player in that midfield. And I do think that it doesn't really matter what centre-back we get. We've got to give them some protection as well. And that's why the CDM would still be a priority for me. Look, a centre-back would be great, but I think getting a CDM would be, that would be my priority. But I think, look, Martinez, like I said the same just about other players, but I trust my manager, and if our manager thinks Martinez is the guy who can step up to the plate and strengthen our defence, then of course I would support that. But preferably I would go for Timber. And so I said there, what I've seen from Martinez, he looks like a decent player. It will be interesting to see him in the Prem. I think he will end up in the Prem, and obviously it's just whether he's going to be at us or Arsenal, it seems at the moment. Talking about Arsenal, I saw a lot of United fans yesterday giving it large because Arsenal obviously believed they were getting Rafinha. Rumours were last second that Chelsea have stepped in and hijacked the deal for Rafinha. Chelsea fans and Arsenal fans are in tears today because apparently Barcelona are now hijacking that deal as well. I mean, what's your thoughts on Rafinha? Obviously, I think early on, like, his name was mentioned with us, but never really convincing. I think that was more because he's obviously Bruno's best friend and whatnot. But yeah, where do you think he's going to end up? And also, were you part of the people who were laughing at Arsenal yesterday?
I wanted to laugh, I really did, but the way Manchester United is at the moment, I've got no room to laugh. I must be honest.
Exactly.
But, to be honest, I look at Manchester United in terms of some Leeds players, and I think, how have we not gone for them? I would have at least tried to bid for Calvin Phillips. I know that would have been a long shot, but you still would have tried. Rafinha is a brilliant right winger, so I know he's not the cheapest of options, but knowing that he's only got his contract finishes next season, I believe, next summer. Really, we should have at least put some kind of bid into there because Leeds are gonna sell him for a lot less than what he was projected at last season. So I think we should have tried. I think he's a brilliant. I don't think Barcelona will end up going for him now because knowing that Arsenal are there, Chelsea are there, and at this moment in time, Barcelona's in that financial difficulty, so they're going to struggle to get players at a high price, and especially if the rumours are true and that they want Lewandowski, they're going to want to save the money they do have to sign Lewandowski. So for me, I think it's going to be end up Chelsea who will go for them and end up getting him. And if you was Rafinha, with the quality he has, he will want to play in that Champions League football. He's going to want to get into that squad at a crucial role. And I'm not saying he wouldn't get that at Arsenal, but I think there'll be a bit more competition knowing that Saka's there. Whereas the wing options for Chelsea, Pulisic, Mason Mount, Ziyech, I think he could get in, or I think he could get in over the majority of them, to be fairly honest.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good fit, if I'm honest. I think he's a good player, a very good player. And obviously he's Premier League proven now. I think with Leeds, in a struggling team, I think he was their bright spark. You're right, Calvin Phillips would have been the one that I would have gone for. If we could go in for a reduced price. I do think if Leeds would have gone down, that would have made that deal a lot more accessible. But yeah, obviously he's going to City, which is a worrying thing. But I totally agree with you. We can't laugh at Arsenal with our situation at the moment. We're in no position to laugh. And Arsenal, I think, have obviously got some business in the likes of Jesus, for example. I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans giving it large about Jesus. And I want to ask your opinion on him. For me, he's a player that divides opinion. He's won a lot in his career, obviously at City. Had a good career at City, and I'm not knocking that. And I do think he's a good player. But he came with, I remember people labeling him as like the next R9. The next Rivaldo, like saying he's going to be the next big thing from Brazil. And I don't think he's really hit those heights. He was playing second fiddle to a striker that wasn't even there at City. Like, he couldn't start in that 9 position, really. He played better when he was out wide. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he's not a good player. And I think he's a very good signing for Arsenal because, like I say, he's a winner and he brings something different to them. But I don't know. I've just never really been that mad on Jesus as a player. What's your opinion?
I think with Jesus, he is good for Arsenal. I think at Manchester City, the squad depth for Manchester City, it does play a big factor, and it says a lot if you use the backup striker to a striker that wasn't there, and it was him who ended up deciding, I don't want to play as a striker, I want to play as a winger, and then that's just going to put him even further down the pile, knowing that Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, Mahrez are all playing in them winger spots. He's got no chance there of getting in. I think, though, a lot of people in the respect has overhyped Jesus and the potential that he did have. And I do think that if Pep Guardiola's seen that he does have the capabilities to be the next R9, he would have kept him instead of buying 2 strikers in the transfer window of Alvarez and also Haaland. So I think that there has definitely been some overhyping there with some players, but some teams, but however, with Jesus, I think he does need to have some good wingers around him at Arsenal to actually get his potential, because Saka's brilliant and Odegaard, but it's more than the left-hand side there for Arsenal who's going to be able to provide that for there, because I think Smith Rowe's a lot better in the attacking midfield role. So I don't see, to be honest, how many goals can Jesus get when they're very short in that attacking option.
Yeah, it's right. I keep thinking about midfield options. I've been sitting here thinking who could be a realistic midfield option. And I saw an interesting tweet the other day, and I don't know who did it, and they basically said, and this isn't going to happen, by the way, but it's just a question thrown out there to you and to the chat. Zinchenko, apparently City are willing to let him go. They signed the guy, don't they, from Brighton, Cucurella, whatever his name is. So if they do get rid of Zinchenko, I believe he wants a midfield role. I think Zinchenko is a great player. I really do. I think he's a versatile player. Would you consider him as a midfield option? And in the chat, let me know as well.
It is a tough one, because I actually think he is a lot better in the midfield, if you want me to be fairly honest.
For Ukraine, I think he stood out like a sore thumb. I think he was outstanding in the midfield. But obviously, you got to think he's one of the better quality players in that Ukraine team.
He is. He plays, for me, when he has played in the midfield, it comes across that he is more attacking in the midfield than he is defensive in the midfield. But if
he likes to dictate the play.
Yeah, he does. If he was played as a defensive midfielder, I would take him. But if he's come out and said, I want to play as a box-to-box midfielder, knowing that we've got Jong, we've got other players there, especially if Ericsson's come in, so Bruno may potentially drop back, then personally, no. It's just depending on where he does play, to be honest. But if that Cucurella is a brilliant signing there for Man City as well, but that means they've only got one left back. What are they going to do with it? They'll have to buy another left back.
Yeah, I remember that window when Pep spent was it I swear he got like 4 fullbacks all around £50 million in the one window. Like it was crazy. I remember he was quite new at City at that time. I think Zinchenko is a great player, and I don't think it's going to happen for a second. I'm going to say that out there, but I do think like if that option came about where he needed to leave, and we were still needing a midfielder, I wouldn't frown at it. I wouldn't frown at it, but obviously, again, not my ideal choice. But I think Zinchenko is a very reliable player, a very consistent player. Bruce said that I heard Everton were in for him. If Everton did get him for as a midfielder, I think he would definitely boost their team. But yeah, I think he's a very good player, but he just wouldn't be at United. I just never see him at United, unfortunately. But I was when I read that about the wanting to let Zinchenko go, I'll be honest, I was a bit surprised. I thought he's like Mr. Reliable for them. Like I say, he's versatile, can play either fullback, can also play in the midfield as well. So I was surprised to see that. But I do think that that's a name that has kind of gone under the radar in terms of a midfield option, because I think he is a very good midfielder. When he has played there, he has impressed me. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that one out there, just a bit of a random one, really, just to put it out there. But yeah, and obviously you mentioned his name earlier, Anthony, in the battle with Malacia. His name is still about. Rumours are we've dragged our feet so much that Ajax are now up the price for him, which I could believe that. Is he still an option that you go out looking for? Because it seems Anthony's pretty desperate to come to us.
Yeah, for me, I do really like Anthony. I think he's great. However, if they're putting the price up and we're obviously not going to negotiate for it, we do need to look elsewhere. I think the thing is, with Man United, what does annoy me at times is that we put all our eggs in one basket on one player. And we don't want to... If we get De Jong, and then we, of course, get Martinez, we get Eriksen as well, and Malacia, and then we spend the rest of our transfer window just waiting on Anthony. It's not the best of options to do, because you look at them wing options we have at Man United at the moment, and I think Bruno would have stood out a lot better if we had better winger options. I'm not discrediting Sancho one bit, because I actually think he's been our best winger, but I think even Ronaldo could have got a few more goals as well if we had better wing options. So I think even though Anthony wants to come, we still need to be looking out on the market for other winger options as well for the right-hand side. And that's why I think we should have really looked at getting Rafinha, to be honest.
Yeah. Tom said there, what do you expect from Rashford? I know you like him as a player. I do like him as a player. Last season frustrated the hell out of me. He was awful. His body language just seemed off. I know he's released clips of him working hard and whatnot, which obviously is nice to see, but we want to see him putting that in the pitch. We want to see his work rate, because I don't think we saw that enough last season. Too much strolling around. New manager coming in, I think it can influence a player, though, majorly. And I think someone like Rashford, I think Ten Hag will come in and put his arm around him, because you see the potential that he's got, the ability that Rashford has got. And on his day, he can be an absolute world beater. But unfortunately, like I said, last season, he was woeful. And I'm just hoping that Ten Hag coming in can give him that boost. Like I say, put an arm around him. And I think you mentioned there about our wingers last season. You are right. There's too much coming short for feet. I want to see players spinning off in behind and varying the runs. And it was too predictable, too much to feet. And is that a fear factor? Is that because the players don't feel confident to do that? Like, is it a tactical thing where they just don't know, like, how to do that? Do you know what I mean? And players don't know. Because Bruno is always looking for that running behind, I think. He's always looking up. He wants to play that ball in behind. How many times did we see Pogba do it where the ball's coming to him and the first time he's hooked it over the top? You know, I want to see that football. I want to see players getting in behind, and I don't think we stretch the team enough. And I think that with Ten Hag as manager now, players like Rashford, Sancho, I'm really excited for next season. I want to see more of that. I want to see more of this running off in behind, stretching teams, because he's absolutely rapid. And we just didn't get the full benefit of his pace at all, because everything was just to feet, wasn't it? And it was just frustrating. We need to get in behind teams, and I think that's what Ten Hag will instill. Obviously, faster passing, more direct passing in between the lines, and I think our players will benefit from that, especially the likes of Rashford. I mean, what do you expect from Rashford this season, Mais? Do you think Ten Hag will help him?
It's a tough
one.
Or
do you think he's finished? Like a lot of people think he's finished.
It's a tough one, because even though Rashford still had the goals the season before, he still wasn't the same Rashford. I know he had his injuries, but I don't feel like he's been the same since before COVID, if you want me to be fairly honest. And a lot of people saying, well, if Rashford ain't good this season, sell him on. We can't sell him on because his contract runs out next summer. So, and personally for me, with Rashford, it's absolutely criminal to let him go on a free. Just like Paul Pogba, we shouldn't let Rashford go on a free either.
Not one of our own like that. Yeah.
No, definitely not. So personally, if they are wanting to give Rashford a chance, they need to give him 1 year contract, because we can't let him go so easily. Yeah. And as well, not just Rashford, I want to see a little bit more from Anthony Martial, because Anthony Martial is more of a compared to Rashford, he's more of a pressing type player. And for me, I think he might actually suit Ten Hag's play a lot better from the wingers we do have. So I think maybe we might see something better from Anthony Martial perhaps as well. I think Ten Hag is going to observe of who he does want to keep. But personally, I wouldn't say, as much as I've always said in the past, we need to get rid of Martial and Rashford isn't brilliant anymore as well. I personally do think that Martial in particular, I do want to give that one last chance to, just because of the way the manager is, and I think that player suits the style of play a lot better. But I think Rashford's just a lot more 50-50 for me, just based off where his contract is at the moment, just because I don't want him to feel like he can do it. And you're hearing the report saying Marcus Rashford expects to be in the position to be in the starting 11. You shouldn't expect. You need to earn that. So certain reports as well, the contracts, that's why I'm more 50-50 about Rashford than I am compared to Martial.
Yeah. I think with Martial, you had a good point. We haven't spoke about him really. Him coming back, I mentioned it before. I do think Ten Hag will want to have a look at these players. Players like Martial, who are kind of on the cusp, who could possibly leave, but we know he's got that ability, that potential. I do see Martial, if we can't sign a striker, and you think striker is probably our least priority at the moment, because we're looking at the CDM, we're looking at centre-backs, looking at full-backs at the minute, looking at a winger. We don't think we're going to get a player for every position. Do you know what I mean? So I think with Ronaldo there, we need someone to play second fiddle, and I think it was going to obviously be Greenwood, but that whole situation happened, and I think Martial could come back, and like you say, could suit Ten Hag's system. Having a new manager, it's a clean slate for us, but it's also a clean slate obviously for him as well, for Martial, because I think him coming back into a new manager, a new ethos could really suit him. It strikes me as a confidence player, Martial, as well. Obviously, a lot of people say he's quite stroppy and whatnot, but I think with the new manager coming in, that could give, like I said, with Rashford, an arm around him, give him that bit of a boost. And I think Martial's link-up play is very suited to Ten Hag's style of football.
Yeah.
A very technically gifted player. I know effort comes into it and stuff, and a lot of people comment on that, but it wasn't just Martial who has been putting the effort in, let's face it, over the last few seasons. I mentioned Rashford earlier, but there's been many more players who've been strolling around the pitch. Bruno having a strop, throwing his arms around. That was just a culture at United for whatever reason. Like, it just isn't right, and I'm hoping Ten Hag can slowly change that culture at United. That sulking culture, that arrogance that we were entitled to a win. No, you earn it. Do you know what I mean? That's how it's felt from a fan's point of view. But I think Martial, short term, well, we can't buy another striker. I think he will play second fiddle to Ronaldo. I think that's where he will fit in. But long term, obviously, he has to hit the ground running with a new manager. Otherwise, I do think he'll be out the door, because alone at his age, you kind of feel like normally would spell the end for someone at a club. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't normally happen where they come back and they rejuvenate their career. But having a new manager in there gives him that second chance, I think. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens, because I agree with Curtis there. We're not going to get a striker in this window, so we need somebody to rotate. And Rashford obviously is an option, but Rashford isn't a clinical enough finisher, doesn't hold the ball up very well. Martial is more suited to that 9, you'd say. So I think Martial will be the second striker to Ronaldo, if you like. We need to buy one, but we're not gonna. That's not going to be our priority. If we do, I'll be shocked.
I was reading reports about Sancho where he said that he wouldn't mind playing the false 9. So if we was to do that, put Sancho in the middle, because like we've seen a lot of teams who use a false 9 now, put Anthony on the right. I actually think that Martial plays better on the left. So we could even try that option, knowing that Sancho is open to be versatile in the up-front position. We already know he can play both wings. So if he can play in the middle, that could be another potential option.
I'd love to see a fluid front three, players who intertwine and we can vary our play. We don't always have to go for Ronaldo, which we saw so much last season. We do have those players who rotate, and like I say, we have that balance going forwards, which we haven't had. But we do need players like Rashford to be on form for that to happen. So hopefully Ten Hag can work his magic there. If someone like Anthony comes in, obviously that's a breath of fresh air as well. But yeah, Sancho is someone I think I'm really looking forward to seeing next season under Ten Hag. I think he can really flourish, and I think Ten Hag coming in, just believing in him. Do you know what I mean? It seems like Sancho just needs someone to say, no, just run at someone. You can do it. Because when he does do it, like, it's frightening. Because, like I say, too safe last season, too many players coming to feet. I want to see more players stretching teams, spinning in behind. We were too predictable to play against, and I'm hoping that under Ten Hag, that changes. I love seeing the fast passing and training, the diagonal passes, breath of fresh air. And I know it's just a training session, but we didn't see any of that last season. It was all too static. So hopefully we start to see that on the pitch. That would be nice. Mark's asking where you got your curtains from, Mais.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
They are nice. They're nice. We need a backup striker. Skamaka would be brilliant. Ronaldo is not capable of playing every week. Exactly. That's why I think Martial will come and play second fiddle to him, for sure. But yeah, I mean, Mais, it's been a great show. Hopefully, next time we speak, we will be like, De Jong's a United player, Malacia's a United player, and we're on to the next one. That would be nice. I mean, this time last week when we did our Ladies in Red, we were saying, oh, we're depressed, not a lot's happening, rumours are all the same old. And then all of a sudden, bang, this week, and we're being able to smile and talk that actually things are starting to move now. So fingers crossed, since Ten Hag's come in, a bit more positive, a bit more to smile about. But Mais, thank you so much for joining me. If you wouldn't mind shouting out your channel and letting people know where they can come and find you as well, because obviously your content is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Soph. It's been a great discussion. My YouTube channel is Devils United, Manchester United content there as well. And you can find me on my Twitter, which is at 2_MUFC Mais.
It is going across along the bottom as well, so make sure you give Mais a follow and also check out her channel as well. And of course, if you are new to Ladies in Red, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like on the video as well. And I have missed your comments, I don't miss them on purpose. Please just drop a comment afterwards and I'll always reply there. I'm buzzing to say I'll be back tomorrow with Zio and KG, which I think is going to be a show full of banter. I think I'm kind of going to be like the ref in the middle of them and just trying to bring a bit of sanity to the stream, because I think it's going to be a reckless one. If you know KG, you know what his opinions are like, and I know Zio's been buzzing to get on a show with him. So yeah, that could be a fun show to tune into. That's 8:30 tomorrow on Ladies in Red. But until then, guys, look after yourselves. Keep smiling. Hopefully we have some more news soon. But yeah, have a good evening, guys. Take care.